I'm the host of Halloween, Unmasked and Unspooled, and I'm here to talk with these amazing people about the bold voices of contemporary horror. So will you guys join joining them? We have Ryan Turek, Elfman, Akela Cooper, Gigi Saul Guerrero, and Adam Egypt Mortimer. Guys, take a seat. Alright, come on, let's get spooky now. So I want to start off by just having everybody kind of introduce themselves, the projects, what they're working on, and answer a question I really want to know, which is, what is the last movie that scared you? Yeah.
I'm trying to think about the last movie that scared me. Hi, I'm Molly Elfman. I'm a horror filmmaker. I need help apparently, so I come to this meeting. I don't know, but I just went to the American Horror Story immersive experience, and that there's a great picture of me going, ah! Which was pretty amazing. I don't know, I get scared of everything, to be completely honest. I'm scared of the It trailer. I'm a horror filmmaker not because I'm like, I think a lot of people are like jaded, or they're like, oh, I need so many scares. I'm scared of literally everything. I just like it live. I feel like that's me introduced.
Hi, Akela Cooper. I did season 6 of American Horror Story, and if you have time to the American Horror Story 1984 experience is really good. They spent a lot of money to like scare the shit out of you, and it's effective.
I didn't know that was going to be a plug. It's such a perfect
I am currently writing the sequel to The Nun for New Line Cinema and Atomic Monster. The last movie that scared me, I would have to say Hereditary. I like being creeped out, and I love the slow creep and the slow burn, and that if anyone remembers the wall skittering scene.
Hi, I'm Adam. Friends in the audience, lovely to see you. So I think the movie that like really fucked me up the most recently is Climax, the Gaspar Noé movie. And part of it was like, I remember like going into the theater to see it, it was about to start, and I was like, oh no, I'm about to see a Gaspar Noé movie. Like, what have I done? And so it sounds like some of you have seen it. Like, that's a movie, it's like, people go really mental and break down, and there's like, there's a young child tripping on acid, locked in a dark room, screaming that there's cockroaches on him. Like, it's really horrific. But it is about halfway through the movie, I started laughing hysterically and couldn't stop. And I realized it was like a hilarious movie, not a terrifying movie, or like it was both, or like it was playing with that emotion. And I really enjoyed that sensation of realizing like, oh, maybe this is like, it's terrifying, but the person that made this movie is just so fucked up that this is his idea of like a slapstick comedy. And I found that to be such a unique and rewarding kind of terror.
Hola, my name is Gigi Saul Guerrero. Keep going. I'm like shaking. I'm Gigi Saul Guerrero. I'm from Mexico City. Now I live in Vancouver, Canada. And I have my own production company called Luchagor Productions in Vancouver. We make a lot of Tex-Mex, Latino crazy viral videos, and I recently did my first feature with Blumhouse and Hulu, Culture Shock. Yeah, you can watch Culture Shock now on Hulu, and it totally made a lot of noise. It talks a lot about the border crisis and the unfortunate events we're dealing with today, but it takes a crazy, crazy Latin horror twist. I was going to say Hereditary, but I can totally be very honest. I went to see Crawl, and and my sister and I spilled all the popcorn in at least 3 parts. I won't spoil it, but we completely spilled the popcorn, so I'll be very honest about that. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Ryan Turek from Blumhouse Productions. Is the VP of what was my credits, or was it? Oh yeah, so I'm co-producer of Halloween 2018 and the upcoming Halloween Kills and Halloween Ends. which I'm very thankful we announced yesterday before I came on the panel, because it would be very hard to not talk about. Scary movie Hereditary has already been mentioned, and I just rewatched that and solidified it's one of my favorites in the last 5 years. So I'm going to throw out a shout out to a movie called Terrified, which is a little indie movie that you can now find on Shudder. I forgot what country it hails from, but in terms of narratively, it's not quite cohesive, but it's got these great little vignettes of horror that are absolutely terrifying and truly messed up. And I watched it all by myself, and there was one moment that literally made me jump off the couch and scream, oh shit. So when that happens to, especially me, that means it says something, and it's great. So you can check it out on Shudder.
Well, in this panel, we're going to be talking about contemporary horror, what that is, where it's going. And I find this really interesting. Like, I've been kind of watching the horror space really closely for a really long time because I feel like it's where the interesting films, the interesting filmmakers, the interesting stories and ideas are coming out that wind up changing conversation across all sorts of genres. And so to just sort of set the tone of what we're talking about here, and then this time, I'm going to start with Ryan and work our way back. What makes a film feel contemporary to you watch it? What makes something, a horror film, feel like modern, new, and not old? It kind of connected to that. What, when you see it in a film, does make it feel dated? Makes it feel like something that we're ready to move past?
Well, obviously themes and, I mean, all good storytelling boils down to themes and character, and obviously you can watch something like Night of the Creeps and it kind of feels a little bit dated because teenagers don't feel like that anymore. But you still love it because it's Tom Atkins. But today, you know, kind of speaking to that and what makes a film feel contemporary is just what kind of issues is it tackling. Now, I'm not saying that every horror film has to tackle some sort of issue, but thematically it has to boil down into something that you can access emotionally. I mean, there are films like Gigi's film, which are very right in your face and are talking about potent issues today. And then you can have a film like, Crawl, but which feels contemporary, obviously, because they're pulling off scares that they probably couldn't have pulled off a long time ago using rubber alligators. You know, technology certainly helps craft scares as well. Obviously, it is a great example of that. You know, you're seeing Pennywise do things that you could never see an actor do way back in the day. But I have to say, it's just thematically, you know, what's it trying to say?
And I think also the Pennywise actor, he's like insanely talented with his face.
Yeah.
That's pretty contemporary.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I think Ryan covered it pretty well, but I think also it's a really good time to be a genre filmmaker today because we are, or just in general in filmmaking, because we are so open now to new voices, diversity, different ethnicities behind the camera and in front of it to really speak about what the story is. And I think that there's still room for change on that, but today, like, it's so accepted and it's so amazing. I think for genre, we're really connecting now in a different level. For myself, like watching Get Out, that was a big inspiration for Culture Shock, and I could tell from the moment, from the writing all the way to, clicking export, like you can tell the people behind it and the mind behind it and what's in front, everything has the same story and connection. And now we're challenging audiences to do that, not just in horror, but even now watching movies with subtitles. Ooh, it's all completely being more open and accepted for just challenges, audiences. Spanglish, challenging your audiences, period.
When I think about like the very best horror movies from before the contemporary era, it's like every so often there was a great crafted movie like Rosemary's Baby or The Exorcist or The Shining or Jacob's Ladder, and those are movies that like really rose above their peers because they took the craft so seriously, and in particular, like you mentioned Bill Skarsgård, like the performances in those movies make them really real and crackle with life, so that The Exorcist, which is like 50 years old, does not feel dated, but everything else around it does. And I think what we're seeing in horror now is so many filmmakers that have exceptional craft and abilities to get performances and ability to make interesting style films are drawn to horror. And so it's like every 3 weeks we get a movie. I'm not saying every movie's as good as fucking Exorcist, nothing will be, but there's, you know, Ari Aster has made 2 movies in 2 years that are both like incredible performances, incredible style, you know, and there's so many more filmmakers who understand both like what a horror movie is and what a movie or a film should be. And I think that's why we're, part of the reason why we're in such a great creative boom, whatever the taste, you know, for the fans is, the audience is, like the filmmakers are all rising to this higher level, which is super exciting to compete against.
Yeah. I would say for me it's 2 things. It's expectations and also exposure. In a weird way, like we were literally joking about this when we were standing over there. It's like, oh, we're getting called to the stage. And Tom's like, which one of us is gonna die first? And it's like jokingly, I'm like, and then Ryan was like, no, not today. Like we all know that trope, and like everyone is now, it's like generations of horror fans is like, thanks to Scream, for the most part, like we know the tropes, and now everyone wants to subvert them, and it's giving us new experiences and new things to hope for, and like new heroes that come forward in horror that weren't there traditionally. And I would say also the exposure, like you were saying, it's like we now have like, I'm watching a lot more horror movies with subtitles. Like I got into Lost as Spookies. Recently, it's like I grew up in southeastern Missouri. Like our nearest good video store was an hour north. It was Hollywood Video. And so on the weekends I would make the trek, and then it's like you go to the foreign film section and I would have to get the videos that I was going to have and then pay the extra $2 so that I could keep them for 7 days and not have to return them in 5. And now it's like Netflix, Hulu, Shudder. Like I have access to a plethora of horror films at my fingertips, and so I'm exposing myself to more as a writer even more quickly, and so are like a lot of young people. And quite frankly, it's like you're getting more inspiration more quickly now from different sources and different experiences, which I think is wonderful.
Yeah. No, I think that's exactly it, and I think the trick is because there's so much more content and because it's so much more accessible, the question becomes what actually resonates. And the thing that resonates, I feel like the most is a personal, emotional experience that people could connect with, and that means cutting your heart out and putting it out for everybody to see. And it also means that what's been wonderful is that you do need bold voices, you do need new voices, and therefore it's really opening up the door, and horror more so I think than any other genre, to who are the people that we haven't heard, why haven't we heard them, and what is their story? And I think that's what's so beautiful about contemporary horror. And I actually would argue that it's not so much about, I love visual effects and special effects, but like Chernobyl, I mean, was as contemporary and made me like wake up to a number of issues as well. So I think that it's all about how it emotionally resonates, and I think the only way to do that is from an artist, starting there.
Is Chernobyl a horror movie?
Oh God.
In a way.
There's an episode that I honestly had to fast forward most of. My wife and I could not watch.
Was it episode 4?
The dog episode?
The dog episode, yeah.
Fuck that. No, I could not. And then
If you are a pet owner, that is a very hard episode.
All I needed to see was a dude with a rifle, and then they cut to a close-up of a dog in this sunlit field enjoying life, and I was like, nope. I don't know what's gonna happen. Like,
Why are they all the happiest dogs too? Every single dog is like, hi. I'm like, my dog would at least bite you or do something. I'm like, bite back.
But like, no, but to your point about the emotional connection, it was just like they explained it's like these dogs, their owners abandoned them when they had to abandon the city. So they hadn't seen a human being in weeks. And so the first human being they see is a dude with a gun, and they're just like, hey. It's just, it's heart-rending. It's like, oh my God.
Well, I was going to add something about in terms of contemporary horror. I think right now more than ever, very unique perspectives are being rewarded. These films you talk about, Ari Aster has come up. You know, Ari comes to the horror genre with a very unique perspective. You have come to the genre with a very unique perspective. Your film is coming out, definitively you. And I think what's great is that we're now living in a time where you could walk into a multiplex and you've got Crawl, Annabelle, Child's Play, and then Hereditary. Now that is a wide range of very different stories and very different horror movies that are all, you know, different filmmakers coming to the table with their own unique perspectives. Some showing their love more than ever, others, but they're all doing really well. Like everybody wants to see a genre film. You know, it's like the only two things that seem to be existing in the multiplex universe are superhero movies and horror films. And that's because I think filmmakers are becoming more savvy about channeling, hot topics or, strong emotional, stories that they want to tell through the genre lens, as opposed to, I can't watch dramas. I'm sorry, I just can't, because it just bums me out. So I'd rather see a cancer drama through a horror movie first, before I watch something, that's terribly depressing.
Yeah. Well, I think following the molds and algorithms have proved to not be what people will continue to watch. I think breaking the mold has been rewarded multiple times. Since then, it's how do you break the mold?
Yeah.
And I think the way is doing something that you've never seen before consistently. And I think that's really exciting because then you get to hear from a bunch of people in a bunch of different ways.
Yeah.
Well, Ryan, I'm curious, because I think Blumhouse, from your inside Blumhouse perspective, what I've always found really striking about that is I think Blumhouse kind of really set the stage of you can make a $5 million movie, you can have Ethan Hawke star in it, you can have prestige actors, prestige directors. And at the beginning when Blumhouse started doing that, everyone was like, that's interesting, why are these actors making horror films? And as you guys have rung up this string of successes, now that you've made it almost normal for a Sundance director like David Gordon Green to take over Halloween. A thing that would have made everybody be like, what on earth? A couple of years ago. Are you seeing a change in the actors and directors that come to you and say, we want to be in this, we want to know what you're doing and get a part of it?
Sometimes, yeah. I mean, we've got another film coming up that's part of a franchise, and I just discovered that there's a very big pop star who is a giant fan of that franchise. I'm sorry for talking in vague terms, but I honestly don't know what's going to happen with this. But they were just like, I am a diehard of this franchise. And we were like, what? And then they gave us a laundry list of reasons why, and they were all for, the reasons I'm talking about. They love what it says about it, what it's saying about the world and, the filmmakers that we're bringing to the table. We do get actors who step up and say they want to play in our sandbox, but the big one is just filmmakers like David Gordon Green who understand that the genre is a platform for very strong storytelling and getting the creative freedom that they want in our sandbox.
Well, and for Akela, what I find really interesting about your career is you've become really good at sort of entering a thing that already exists, entering American Horror Story when it started going on, entering a room where there's a lot of collaboration, and now you're entering this non-franchise. I'm wondering, how do you approach entering a property that exists while still making it feel you, while still getting your personality and your ideas in something?
Well, I've been incredibly lucky with the people that I am working with are open to hearing my opinions. And New Line and Atomic Monster and Blumhouse. I do have a movie with Ryan, hopefully, at some point.
This is an announcement?
It's out in the world,
But yeah, it's been very collaborative with all of them. And so obviously I am playing in this, Ryan Murphy is American Horror Story. You sit in a room with Ryan Murphy and he tells you what he would like to see, and then you're like, okay, can I add to that? And he either says yes or no. And then you go from there, and then with The Nun, my producers just across the board, it's James Wan is this is what I would like to do. Here, Akela, take the ball. I take the ball and run with it, and then people are just okay, go in that direction. We like that direction, or go in this direction. And it's been very collaborative. And everyone wants to do good work, and we all want to scare the shit out of all of you. And so that is our goal, and that's with every draft that we're going through. It's we're making sure we're getting the best product that's gonna please the fans and make everyone happy. And so it's just, thus far, knock wood, I haven't had a problem. I haven't run into any barrier where it's no, don't add that. I pitched something that was hey, I would like to set it in this scene in, Johannesburg, Africa. Can we not set this in a hut? Because that is the predominant vision of Africa, is that it's huts and people in skirts. It's Johannesburg is a city, it's a metropolitan area. Let's show a different side of Black Africa. And they were go do that. Go write that scene. And so, yes, I have had great collaborators when it comes to doing different things and putting out different perspectives thus far.
I love that. And I love that you're talking about these kind of visual changes that really just subtly let people know things that they wouldn't know otherwise, or you kind of insist that they don't. Yeah. Well, for Gigi, I love the film that you did for Hulu, and I want to ask, your film. I really love that you're just going full on, not just into horror, but really into politics. I'm wondering how, when you were making this film, how did you approach sort of balancing political ideas and also when to get scares and also make people nervous?
Well, Mexicans, we make people nervous. All the time. date Latinas. No, I'm just kidding. No, that's a great question. When I first read the script, it was actually called Crossing at the time. And it had, I don't want to spoil it, but it had this really great concept that really spoke about the Hispanic perspective of what is the American dream. What is that we all, as an immigrant, strive for, that we all want, which is a fair chance in life. And it had this beautiful concept, and myself as an immigrant, I related so quick. And I felt it was my responsibility to be very honest with Blumhouse and be like, if you give me this job, I will make it so Mexican. I will just, it'll go a long way appreciated. And, going back to why I think a lot of actors are so interested in Blumhouse stories is because, again, like you were saying, they are open to hearing a different side. And even for our actors, like Creed from The Office was so excited to be a bad guy in my film. And it was, for these actors, they're hearing these voices, these new directors that are very much the studio is just letting them do what is inside them. So for Culture Shock, touching on this, your question for the politics, I felt as an immigrant and as a Mexican, and also as an outsider from America, I felt it was my responsibility to tell this story. And not to go too dark, but or too depressing for this conversation, but I felt very much, if we can at least talk about what is going on today, I feel I've done at least my part, and I didn't want to be too vanilla about it. And when they let me rework the script, I'm like, a huevo, vamos, like the whole enchilada is gonna be on screen, and people have really maybe been in shock of it, and it's really hit people, culture shock, because we went there as a team, and everyone from the actors, the crew, the execs, everyone felt we gotta tell this story. So I feel very lucky that I got to take this responsibility on my shoulders, for sure. Yeah.
Well, we're going to be showing some clips from several movies that are going to be coming out later this year that are going to be already starting to play the festival circuit. And before we do, because we have two people here whose clips are going to be showing, Adam, we're going to show a clip from your movie, Daniel Isn't Real, which premiered at South by Southwest. And before we show a teaser for it, just to set it up, it's about a young man in college who reconnects with his imaginary childhood friend who's very destructive. And, I've seen this film when it was premiered at South by Southwest, and there's a lot of it that feels really personal. Like, the film really gets into this idea of how do you be a good man in 2019. And I'm wondering, for you, as a filmmaker, putting your own personal anxieties on screen, like really revealing yourself, that also seems super scary.
Yeah, sure. Well, I think that's what you have to do to make work that connects with people, is to be absolutely personal. I struggle with anxiety, I have panic attacks. I do meditate, I do yoga, I box, I'm on medication, all of this to try to battle anxiety, and that doesn't, it helps, but I'm still like, So I've decided that my whole thing is like a cinema of anxiety, and I want to create that feeling, which is, I guess that's not very nice, but anyway, because the idea is if you share these really dark feelings with people who see them, then they feel comforted to sort of have that connection. And something I went through, so this movie, we're gonna show a clip in a second. So I've been working on it for 7.5 years between deciding to make the movie and when it premiered at South by Southwest. So that was a long time. And when I first started on it, I wanted it to be entirely nihilistic and just be like, okay, humans, you're gonna die and you don't recognize it. The world is dark and fuck you for not realizing that. And then when we actually got the financing for the movie, it was after the election of 2016, and I was like, everybody knows that now. It's not new. So I had to before I could film the movie, I had to understand what was going to make it relevant now. And it was, I had this realization, okay, all that's true, so how can we find empathy despite living in this nihilistic world, and that really gave me like a new energy of why the movie would be relevant and helped me find my own empathy. So hopefully that's how some people will interpret the movie.
On that note, let's...
Oh, wait, let me start with the clip. Sorry. Nobody's ever seen any, except a couple of people in a few festivals, nobody's ever seen this movie. We haven't released anything about it. One badass poster and one still. This is the first time anybody's seeing a collection of images. I cut it this week. I was really happy the distribution company let the director cut it themselves, because that's insane. There's no story in this. I'm just gonna put that out. There's no story. It's all just a vibe. That's it. Okay, roll the vibe. Roll the vibe clip.
Doctor Who, from Avengers, but I noticed, this too is also a film that's really about anxiety, but you take it in, or it's a series that's all about anxiety, but you take it in this different way, where it's a comedy. And I want to hear from you about this connection between tension and laughter, and how you mess with that, and you mess with an audience.
Yeah, this is completely about, this is for a series, this is actually a pilot for a series called Neurotica, in which every single episode we take on a different anxiety. So you're gonna love it, Adam.
I have them all. I let them all like Pokemon.
Exactly. It's and every single one, because it's an anthology, has a little bit of, so this one's a little bit more of a sci-fi comedy, some are more direct horror, they kind of bounce all around. And I think there's actually clips from a couple different things, I'll set that up in a second. But for me, you know what, I had a similar thing, the 2016 election. I was much more nihilistic before that. I really like to kind of put people through pain when they were watching films. And I thought that was a catharsis. But when I got there, I realized, I watch Handmaid's Tale, which I love, and I think it's a fantastic show. But it's very hard for me to watch because it's so real. And I want to talk about those issues, and I want to understand those things, but I also need a little bit more of a release. So for me, Neurotica, when I read the script, I mean, it's just very silly, very ridiculous. It has a couple of fun little scares. And Laura Moss is the director that I've worked with. We've shot a couple of things. We're going to do her first feature, Afterbirth, very soon. Karen Gillan is somebody who, I realized I didn't introduce what I did, so I'm going to just go back a little. I own a company called Fun Size Horror, and what we do is we make short form films, many which get turned into features and series. We've released 7 anthologies, I think over 250 shorts. I've produced 45 myself. It's a lot, and mainly what I do now is champion almost entirely, although there's one anomaly. I have my token male director in this bunch, but it's all female directors. Neurotica is nice because Karen Gillan is, I I helped her with her first 2 short films, and then her first feature, The Party's Just Beginning, which we kind of went into a drama, but we'll be going back. Our next film is based off the short film Conventional, and will be Axe Wound, and it's all about horror conventions, and it's going to be so much fun. So yeah, Veronica by Laura Moss, starring Karen Gillan, and then my token male director, with Peopling, that just premiered last week at Fantasia, and I don't think a lot of people have seen that yet, and it is so much fun. And then a little thing from Fun Size Horror, which is my company, and again, we're all about helping filmmakers start their careers and kind of get going, or somebody who wants to do something that nobody will let them do, come and play. That's what we want to do. So yeah, let's watch some stuff. I think, maybe.
George, you're making yucky.
Is this a dream?
No. Well, technically, yes, you are dreaming, but we're projecting all of this on top of your dream.
Repeat after me. I will create. I will create good things. I am a secret genius.
I said don't do that!
I'm sorry.
Listen, 2 years ago we gave you an idea, and you haven't done anything with it!
What does horror mean to you? Fun Size Horror, the online community connecting filmmakers with audiences.
So I want to throw out a question kind of to everybody, and I feel like when I look around everywhere in the culture now, especially well, here probably in part 2, you know, what I see is so much nostalgia. There's really this emphasis right now on like nostalgia, things from the past, things we left from the 80s, things coming back. And I'm wondering for you guys, how do you feel about nostalgia in your own work? Is it something that you try to embrace? Is it something you try to subvert? Or is it something you try to avoid?
Nostalgia makes me really angry. I said nostalgia makes me really angry.
Nostalgia makes me kind of happy.
I know. Let's wrestle.
Arm wrestle, bro. I think everything is good in doses. Like Stranger Things fully leans into it. This is also coming from a guy who was part of the Halloween team, where we were sitting on set going, you know what? I think it's time to put the season of the Witch Kids in this movie. You know, it's just an even balance. I feel like. You know, it's just like, okay, what's a good tip of the hat, and what's also, let me take that and improve upon it if I can. Why do you hate it?
Because the aesthetics of the 80s are cool. I listen to a lot of Tangerine Dream, right? But
yeah.
like, I worry that it's like this regression into our childhood.
You bring up the 80s.
Yeah, that's what I see.
Yeah, that's a lot of 80s. Now I look at something like the trailer for 3 from Hell, which is Rob Zombie's new film, and I see a lot of grimy 60s and 70s, you know. I think it's, do you hate the 80s nostalgia?
Yes, that's what I mean. Thank you for helping me to clarify my feelings.
Yeah, no, no, because I feel like, you know, I'm kind of waiting for the 90s. I'm waiting for
I have an awesome 90s script, we'll talk.
Okay, great. You know, and maybe people are just kind of waiting on that because the 90s leaned into it. So, because post-Scream, it was like every week we had a Scream ripoff. and everybody got super tired of it, and it was super oversaturated. So I'm just kind of waiting for that to come back in some way, but done well. I don't know.
I think there has to be a reason for nostalgia. I think without a reason to bring it back, I'm not the biggest fan, but if you can find a reason and why, again, it's relevant to modern day society and why it's something that we should look back to, if there's something that we can learn or a new perspective. But I tend to honestly abandon it. I'm all about kind of going the other direction for the most part. I kind of enjoy it.
I'm also like, I am not necessarily a nostalgia person. Sometimes like, when season 1 of Stranger Things came out and you had the opening and then you had the opening credits, it's like, oh yeah, John Carpenter scored. Yep. Like, it hit me and then it's like, I didn't know I needed this, but apparently I'm enjoying it now. I think though for a lot of, I'll just speak from like a writing perspective, especially writing horror films, no one really wants to take the challenge of like writing horror with the technology that we have today. And so it's easier to set something in the 80s and probably the 90s when you couldn't just get on your cell phone and be like, there is some asshole in the woods with a mask. And you blast it out on Snapchat and then you start filming. It's like, I'm gonna film my own murder, but you know. And so it's just like a lot of people struggle with that. And I'm like, no, embrace that challenge so that, 30 years from now, people are like going back and remaking the stuff that we're making and like make the technology scary.
Remember when they used Snapchat? It's so dated.
Oh yeah.
Is it?
There's a difference between nostalgia and historical, right? Like not everything that takes place in a setting is, nostalgia is a feeling of like, that was so wonderful then. And so now when I see nostalgia, I think of Make America Great Again, is nostalgic for gnarly shit, right? So, a long list of things that's nostalgic for, and they're all bad. So I guess I'm finding a connection there.
Yeah.
Like, let's make a movie about the 80s where it's got a John Carpenter score, but also the CIA is overthrowing every Latin American country. Like I would like to see that 80s movie, but I don't need every 80s thing to be like, wasn't it fun to be a child?
Right. I was going to say, for filmmakers up here, I mean, like, obviously, Mark, it's a challenge for you to, I mean, you like the challenge, but I find when I'm in development meetings and I'm getting scripts where it's like, okay, what the hell do we do? Because there's a cell phone in this situation. Like, cell phones have made making horror movies incredibly hard because everyone, before this, I was just watching a video of a high-speed chase that ended on a beach in Venice Beach where a guy was wearing a Joker mask. But it was like 50 people on the beach all going like this. And I was like, okay, if there was a horror movie version of that, how would that play out? It's like, it's very hard to...
A lot of background actors.
No, but I mean, like, one of the challenges we had on Halloween was, okay, how do we get Allison, Laurie Strode's daughter and granddaughter, out of this situation? Like, how do we get her removed from her phone so we can isolate her and put her in more danger? And that was just, it was so...
You can find a whole new part, like instead of recreate, it's like, how do we do the same thing but disable her phone? It's like, and you tell the story like completely different story.
Well, we made it more a character thing. It was about a relationship with her boyfriend. Her boyfriend proved to be a douchebag and wound up taking her phone and throwing it away.
And it was fun.
Yeah.
Well, what about, I'm curious from your perspective, being like on the inside, being people who take meetings, talk to people, know other producers who know, kind of the ropes of how things get made and done. Now that we're 2 years out from Get Out, I'm wondering, are you seeing like an actual change, an actual Get Out effect in terms of, what you can write, what you can get made, who you can get cast in it, and also, are people now looking for Oscars, like hoping that their horror film might get a Best Picture nomination?
I personally think for myself, I think genre films in general are just, it's tough to pick the right word, but it's almost like they're so much more mature, and like even the stories themselves are not, just mindless gore anymore. Like there's something to tell. It kind of goes to the question before, what is contemporary horror? And now that they're being recognized for the Academy, I think that's a big jump. But yeah, we were all like, I'd like an Oscar.
Or is that really fun?
Well, I was going to say the Get Out effect you know, not a week goes by, I get a call from an agent that says, hey, so I've got this script. It's like Get Out meets Hereditary, or Get Out meets Crawl, or Get Out meets whatever the fad of the moment is.
I used to make that.
And I think what is lost on a lot of folks is Get Out came from a place of anger and frustration, and a place for Jordan Peele that was deeply personal. And it wasn't about going, I'm gonna make a socially relevant horror film. That's what I want to do. And I think there's a lot of what's great is there are a lot of executives and a lot of people who are pushing back against that kind of desire to go, I want to create socially relevant horror movies. Because they're trying to create a fad, and you can't create fads. You just have to let these talented folks just tell the stories they want to tell. What are they angry about? What are you frustrated about? You're tackling anxiety, you're tackling your own frustrations. It's like, that's the stuff that needs to be rewarded. So I kind of, when a Get Out clone comes in, I kind of cringe a little bit. I give it a shot because obviously, hopefully it's coming from a deeply personal place, but I don't want to read something that's like, oh, Get Out was really successful and got, you know, Oscar acclaim. I'm going to try to do the same thing. That pisses me off.
You know the nice thing that I will say about the Get Out effect, which I officially think we need to start that hashtag, but is that there is, I think people are taking horror much more seriously. They're seeing it as more mainstream, and obviously Blumhouse has done this for a long time. There's been plenty of big films, but the quality levels, the score on that film, I mean, we were just watching it over the Cats trailer. It's genius. It works on everything. But I think that before it was just deliver on scares. It doesn't really matter about the performances. There was a little bit more of that thought process. And I think all of us in the genre are like, no, there's way more to do. And we've been trying to make those types of films for a very long time. And I found that for me, who's been trying to make more cerebral horror films, I'm actually getting people taking calls, taking meetings, and actually starting to push that. Blumhouse takes my meetings now. It's amazing.
Now, we've always.
I know, they always do. But you know, it's something where I think that people actually understand that there's a spot for it in the world, that it can be financially successful, that it can be award-winning, and I think that's really nice for the filmmakers because now we actually get to go back, as you said, to the people and say, okay, what are your anxieties? Let's push the bar as far as we possibly can, and I think it could make for some really great horror, and all of that again comes back to finding the bold voices who haven't had something to say, and like you said, and you have to hire the people. It's all about the people that you hire. If you want new stories, hire new people who have something to say.
And it goes back to audience because what's happening is the audience is rewarding that.
They are.
They want new stuff. They want fresh perspectives and fresh stories.
Yeah. So on that note of new, we have 3 clips we're going to show really fast. There's 3 films that are going to be coming out later this year. We have a clip from The Lodge, which is the new film by the team that made Goodnight Mommy. It stars Veronica. We've got a clip from I always call it Little Children. We've got a clip from Little Monsters that stars Lupita Nyong'o, and we have a clip from a movie called Villains that stars Maika Monroe of It Follows, and also Bill Skarsgård of It. We're going to run those really fast, and then I think we have time for maybe 1 or 2 audience questions before we get kicked out. So if you're the person who wants to ask that question, there's a mic there. Just get ready, and we'll do this.
Grace? What is this? I don't know yet. We're stuck here and we don't know what's going on, and this picture, what does it mean?
I don't know what that photo means, Aiden.
What if we died?
We didn't die.
How do you know? If we had died, how would we know?
Because it makes no sense. Because I'm sitting here talking to you, and because my feet are cold, and I'm hungry.
Maybe that's what it's like. We wouldn't know if we died.
Sleep right now.
Why do we stop?
We ran out of fucking gas.
What? We just robbed.
I know.
I'm right here, bud. I'm right here.
Listen very carefully. I need you to stay here with David. Hold hands. And don't let go until I get back, okay?
You'll be alright.
Get them story gang in the tower.
Don't worry about it. I'll just hop right up and let them know, okay?
Breathe. You'll be alright. Here we go. Breathe in.
Breathe, mate, please. Keep breathing. Darth Vader and play the shooting game as much as you want. I don't care what your mum says.
So I want to say, but obviously there's a lot to see and a lot to talk about, and I want all of you to join me in thanking our panelists for joining us.